People in the room.
Hi. I will know. Hi, everyone. And
Hi.
we are live. Okay. Hi, Bruce.
Hi. Where are you? We're usually side by side in the car.
I know this is a little different, right? You were doing your thing on a call, and I kind of left you and I got set up in another room in the house. So
Oh,
we are under the same roof. We're just in different rooms.
yeah. It's good for our marriage.
Would you like me to come down and be with you?
No, I'm okay. Working together, living together, we need a little separation. I'm all right with this.
Wow. Really? You feel that way?
Someone has to watch a dog who's wandering aimlessly down here.
Should we listen? Real talk, real estate. We've been doing this now. We're on week number 6. We have covered so many topics about real estate, but I'm happy to talk about our dog.
Well, I think the dog leads itself to real estate.
How so?
Well, I have no statistics to back it up, but I think that the most popular thing to do during pandemic was get a dog.
I think
So if families went out and got a dog, and either it became dog number 1, or in some crazy people's cases, dog number 2, or crazier than that, maybe dog number 3.
not me. That's crazy. That's just crazy.
Don't these people need bigger houses to live in because they well, our dog's barking at himself. Don't they need bigger houses to live in?
Yes,
Because
they
have
do.
to house these dogs.
Yes, or they need a fenced yard.
Yes.
Yes, they need all of those things. And you're right. I think getting dogs was definitely part of the pandemic. They were referred to as COVID puppies, and everyone, I think, wanted a puppy at the time. And I think, unfortunately, I think some people are regretting getting a puppy over COVID. I don't think they realized how much work it is. Me, on the other hand,
That wasn't you then.
that wasn't about me. Actually, I got a puppy post-COVID.
That was some people.
I got a stop it. I got a puppy post-COVID.
We did get a
We got, are you actually
Don't we?
are you petting our puppy?
Someone has to.
Okay, so I just have to let everyone know before we get into anything serious real estate related. Bruce is an adamant, not an animal lover. Okay, now I think you're
up.
What?
I don't hate animals. See, this paints me with the wrong brush.
Okay.
I have no interest in taking care of them. I don't want the responsibility. I don't hate dogs, although most dogs scare me. So we can delve into that at another time. You can all tell me how crazy I am and how gentle they are. And, oh my God, he won't bite you. Yeah, because he tells you that, like the dog said to you, oh, I won't bite him. No.
Okay.
So that said, I personally do not want dogs in my house because who winds up having to walk them, take them out, feed them, blah, 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 blah.
Okay. And you're right. But I will say it's really, really nice to see you enjoying our new addition, Rocky, because unlike Lucky, our Tibetan Terrier, Rocky is a very different type of dog, right?
Yeah, no, listen.
And confessions of a not a dog lover. He loves this dog.
Yeah, the best thing to do is to get a puppy that needs constant attention and put it in the same room with a hypertensive, high blood pressure guy who's like jumping all the time because, oh, is the dog peeing on the floor? Is he going to chew something? It's a good combination. You're trying to kill me, aren't you?
But he's a sweet dog. I'm not trying to kill you. He's a sweet dog.
Well,
and I have
he's like a big stuffed animal.
He's
wonderful. He's soft. He's jumping all over you every time you come downstairs. He's kind of, a little on the dumb side with the, oh my God, I haven't seen you in 5 minutes. Let me come and run over.
Okay, Bruce.
Oh, he's not dumb.
No, he's
left
not.
The room.
He
was insulted by that.
He's wonderful. He's very sweet. And hold on, I'm going to bring up this picture because I just have to, and then we will move on. Okay.
He's definitely a better personality than the other dog.
Can we see all that? Can you guys see that?
Oh my God, it looks like our dogs.
Those are our dogs. That's Lucky, our black Tibetan Terrier, and that's our new addition, Rocky. He's a now 3-month-old Bernedoodle, but he looks very much like a Bernese Mountain Dog, and he's wonderful. And they're very different personalities, but they are wonderful. Anyways. All right. Well, listen, we did not come on here to talk about dogs. We came on here to bring you value, to talk about real estate and what's going on in the market. We've done this now. We were on our 6th week of doing this. The first week we were on, we talked about how's the market. And if you do sell, where do you go? A lot of people want to sell, take advantage of this really strong real estate market, but they don't know where to go. Another week, we talked about the top 10 seller home inspection tips you need to know if you're a seller. And we went over things like, making sure all your plumbing is working right, and your systems, and check up in the attic to make sure you don't have something that might look like mold, et cetera, et cetera. We also talked about how to buy and sell at the same time. Shout out to Mike Abramson, one of our past clients and friends, for coming on and telling his story about how he sold and bought in the same day, and a few challenges that went along with that. And then last week we had on fellow realtors, Justin Mandisi and Sarah Tufano from Rhode Island and Connecticut. And we talked more about some bad buyer horror stories and things that sellers can do so the closings go smoothly.
Oh, did you talk about walkthroughs?
We did. We talked a lot about walkthroughs last week.
I would say I have a horror story walkthrough every 4 or 5 closings.
Every 4 or 5, you have a horror story closing.
And some of them are big deals, and some of them are just big deals to the clients.
Hold on, I just want to mention something. Bruce was supposed to be on last week. Do you want to talk about why you weren't on and the exciting thing that happened? I think people would like to know. So
we're in the old man B division championship series. So
Bruce
with
Needle,
all those qualifiers,
he's quite an athlete.
With all those qualifiers, we're supposed to be playing tonight. 1 game, winner take all, tied 2-2 in the best of 5 series. But unfortunately, we're rained out, which gave me much more time to spend with my wife and partner on real estate rather than playing softball and drinking beer in the parking lot for 3 or 4 hours. So now that game has been postponed till Monday.
It is one of his favorite things to do. And I respect that and appreciate that. And I think it's really nice that you like to go out and play a little softball with your friends. I think that
we do play for the Needle Group.
Yep, we are sponsors of the team. That's true.
It does remind me that I'm getting older every day because I can't do half the things I used to do, but I still enjoy it.
That's good. That's
good. And I'm not the oldest guy in the league.
Really?
By a long shot. Really?
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
All right.
Oldest guy on my team.
Why don't you share with us one of those buyer stories that you want to? The only caveat is if you share a story, you have to share a story with a lesson to be learned for either the buyer or the seller, or the real estate agent. Maybe there was something that could have been done better on the side of the real estate professionals or the lawyers or whatever. So.
Well, I had a situation where I went to, oh my God, went to a home for the final walkthrough. And the house was, beautiful. It was empty. The sellers had left a beautiful couple of champagne flutes and a bottle of champagne and some flowers and a beautiful note to the buyers. I hope you enjoyed this house as much as we did, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But at some point during the walkthrough, and I can't remember if maybe I just had to use the bathroom or we were in the bathroom and we just flushed the toilet just kept running. I'm like, this is a little weird. Like,
where's it going?
It was, out the door. It was a little weird. And we're kind of commenting on, I don't remember it being like that. Actually, now I remember. I had to use the bathroom before the clients got there.
Got it.
And I recall, and I made a mental note that like the toilet is running a long time, 10 minutes later, the clients got there and the toilet's still kind of running and then it stopped running. So I'm like, I said to my clients, you need to touch everything, open every drawer, turn on all the lights, make sure that the gas stove works, looking on the cabinets, make sure it's empty. And I said, and run all the water, turn on all the faucets, flush every toilet to make sure they work the way they're supposed to.
Yeah.
And this toilet, I timed it. took 15 minutes to stop running. So we all thought that was a little strange.
Okay.
So I called the other agent, who started out by saying, basically, too bad. I'm
Oh,
like, no, it's not how it works.
right.
When we do an inspection, you make note of things that work or don't work. You talk about how they might be fixed, etc. But you note things like the toilets worked fine. You wouldn't have any note that there would be a problem with the toilet unless there's a problem with it. So in this case, I said to the agent, well, that's not really acceptable. We're not taking ownership of a house with a plumbing issue on the day of closing.
Yeah.
So I called our attorney, who said, no problem, Bruce. I'll contact the other attorney and we'll hold back money. Well, as soon as the attorneys heard that, lo and behold, the other agent called me and said, we'll work it out. We'll do a holdback. We'll fix it. It shouldn't run like that. Sometimes you have to be a little threatening, if you will. And it worked out. A plumber came out that day and fixed it. There was something wrong with it. Yeah. And $1,000 holdback addressed the issue perfectly.
Good. So I had an interesting one just yesterday. I had a listing here in Sharon that just closed yesterday, and this was a house that was already vacated, and we hired a stager to stage the house. We got it. We prepped it took us probably about 4 to 5 weeks to get it ready. We removed carpeting. We did the hardwood floors. We brought, shout out to Nancy Saffron and Show House Home Staging. We brought in a stager. We got the house staged and everything went great. Sold under agreement. And the agent had asked me if she could do a walkthrough. What's today? Today's Thursday, on Tuesday morning at 9:30. The closing was Wednesday morning. And after the closing after the walkthrough Tuesday morning, I didn't hear from her. And so I assumed everything was great. And then that Tuesday night, if you remember, Bruce, I said, let's go swing by. Yep. I just wanted to make sure, because I hadn't been in the house in a few weeks. It was empty, and I did want to also make sure that the house was in good shape. Well, I went in the house, and there were 2 beds left in the house. And I remember when we were emptying out the house, we decided let's leave 2 beds in the house for staging purposes. Well, those 2 beds were still in there. A headboard, it was like a queen size bed and a twin size bed, mattress, box spring. And I went through and I was panicking because the closing was the next morning. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we have to get this stuff out of the house. When I spoke to the agent said the walkthrough went great and everything was good. And I talked to my team and I'm like, we left 2 beds in there. What are we going to do? Did she mention the 2 beds? So I ended up bringing it up, and I think they wanted the beds. I think they were probably hoping we thought they were there.
Hoping they would be there.
Either that or they didn't do a walkthrough and they just said they did a walkthrough. I'm still not really sure. But the point is that it closed and everything went great. But you know what? For me, I always want to get ahead of that problem, right? Because what would have happened? It would have closed and they would have walked into the house and said, oh my God, how dare you? You left 2 beds here, which I would have said, well, didn't you do a walkthrough? Right. Blah, 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 and that kind of thing.
I tell my clients that walk through all the time that there shouldn't be any surprises. So if the seller wanted to leave something and thinking it was helpful, and this is what happens all the time, thinking it's quote unquote helpful, well, just let us know in advance, because what the seller thinks is helpful isn't always helpful to the buyers. I remember having a buyer who said, I don't want anybody's cleaning goods in the house. I don't want anybody, like, they left a roll of toilet paper on the right. On the roll there, thinking they're helpful. And my buyer's like, I don't want to touch anything that belonged or touched anybody, anybody else was near. So you need to clear that stuff in advance. It's that simple.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
So one thing we wanted to talk about today was the market, right? We talked about it on our first episode. It's now what we refer to as going into the fall market. In August, we did see things quiet down a little bit. I've got the stats here of what went on in, at least in our hyperlocal market, which is Sharon, where I can tell you that 18 new homes came on the market in Sharon. And let me just pull this up. I just want to tell you that we had in Sharon, we had in the month of August, 24, it looks like, 24 new listings came on the market in August. And 27 went pending and 38 sold. So those are some that's the most, though, other than July, August had the most home sales so far this summer. And we still are incredibly low in inventory. There were a few weeks in August where it was quiet. People took vacations, right? And people were busy getting their kids ready for school. So things kind of slowed down a little bit in the month of August, but all of a sudden, fall market, we are definitely seeing a tick up. And I think actually I just gave some wrong stats. Hold on a minute. Hold on. I think I was on the wrong sheet. Let me just give the right numbers here. Oh my gosh, I was on the wrong numbers. Okay, hold on a second. Excuse me. All right. New listings for the month of August in Sharon were 18 compared to last month were 25. I was on last year actually. Which again, inventory is down from last year. That's what that shows us.
Yep.
And 22 were sold this month and 27 went pending. And average days on market, 19. I can tell what's going on here in Sharon.
Well, that's the data in Sharon is all skewed by the fact that there are some enormous houses that have been in the market a very long time, some new construction lots that have been on the market for like a year, a half a year. They skew the market. They make the numbers look unrealistic. They make it look like the average home price in Sharon right now is $1 million, and they make it look like houses are staying on the market, a week longer than they really are. Houses are being snapped up the first week.
If they're priced right.
If they're priced right. Always if they're priced right, because there are some that have been mispriced. But you just had a situation where you priced a house beautifully. There was no competition for it. And how many offers did you get?
Yeah, so that's a really good point. In Sharon, what's really interesting is we have a lot of high-end homes that are sitting on the market. But right now, the sweet spot, I would say, right between if our middle price range, if our median price range in Sharon is about 650,
yeah, it still is.
There, I would say between 750 and $1 million.
Yep.
There is no inventory at all.
And when it comes on, it's
Yep. So
a lot.
we priced a house, and I'll be honest with you. I think I timed the market perfectly for our sellers because, the question was and always is, well, it's Labor Day weekend. People are going away Labor Day weekend. Da 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 da. It's the last weekend of the summer, last hurrah, and should we list it after the holiday, after the weekend? Well, guess what? I advise my clients to not do that because everyone else is going to be waiting and putting it on after the Labor Day weekend. Well, sure enough, we put the house on right before Labor Day weekend hit on a Wednesday or Thursday. And what do you think, Bruce? I think we counted over 50 sets of buyers came through that house.
Distinct sets of buyers.
I had 10 sets of buyers at private showings on Friday.
Yep.
I had another 40 sets of buyers come through an open house on a Sunday during Labor Day weekend. We resulted in multiple offers, and our sellers are very happy. So that's what's going on here in Sharon, and I don't think that's unusual. If the houses are presented well and they are prepared and they are priced right, they are going off the market. And I think, again, that's really important in this market. I keep telling sellers, we can't be looking at what happened with our neighbor's house and basing our pricing on that. We're seeing price drops and houses sitting on the market with sellers really trying to, overprice their home. And what's happening is buyers know that it's overpriced because they've gone into the other 3 houses that just went on the market, that just went off the market. So when yours comes on, if it is overpriced, they know it and they're going to wait. And that's what's happening. So the market is still on fire. I would say that the fall market is super strong here in Sharon, also Norfolk County, Massachusetts. There was, I want to, but yeah, so
Well,
overall,
it's interesting. I think what I find interesting is let's just take our median home price at
Yeah.
$650.
yeah,
So if a house goes on that, if the median home price, and it should be priced around $650, if it goes on because the seller gets a little greedy and wants to try and squeeze every penny out of it and says, I know that I'm a 650 house in a normal market, but inventory's down. I should be a 680, a $700,000 house.
yeah.
Well, it sits there and people don't react to that. But if they price it at 650 and 10 people come in and like it because it's well priced, it might go to 700. And so you get that money anyway by pricing it appropriately and presenting it appropriately.
100%. There was an article this past week in the New York Times that addressed just that, Bruce. It was about California, where we know prices are really high.
One thing start out there.
It was about a house in Berkeley Hills, California, and as the story goes, a lot of the agents there, and we do this here too, where they're underpricing homes. That's their strategy, right? Yep. I typically like to price at market or slightly below. Yep. There was this woman, and let me see if I can get my notes here. I love this. It says, with some nudging from her agent, she listed her home for $1.795 million, which made her nervous since it was far less than it was worth. Okay. And they wrote, but at the end of the day, which area of the store gets more attention? The sales rack, right? The goal of the realtor is always to get as many eyes as possible on the house. And let me just see if I can get this stat for you. I screenshotted this article. It was so unbelievable. She put it on for 1.78, and it sold. You ready for this? It sold for $3 million.
Wow.
3.075. Okay. It's and that's because and that's, she's like, oh well, I would have been happy with this. I would have been happy with this. But it's tough. Buyers do get tired of seeing these prices and everything happen, and some of them left the market. But this underpricing strategy has worked a lot.
There was a concept around the 90s and early 2000s. Somebody put it forth, and I hadn't thought about it in a while, where it was basically make your home sale an auction and price your home at, $10 and say, the starting bid's going to be $10. No reasonable offer will be refused, but, we're going to take the highest bid at the end of X period of time. Mm-hmm. And what happens is that it comes to what the market will bear. As you always say, this is a market. Markets find their watermark. Buyers know what the right price is for a house. Buyers know what they'll tolerate, and buyers know where they'll go to. Right. But if you started that bidding on a house that's too high, no one's going to touch it. You start it low enough, they'll drive it.
That's right. That's right. And I also want to say that what I'm also finding is that the role of the buyer agent is really important as well, because when some agents are underpricing versus some agents are overpricing, the agent is the one that knows. An agent like yourself, Bruce, in this market, what's what, right? if a home has been underpriced or if a home has been overpriced. And time again, you've been right on the money, right? A house,
Yeah.
I won't mention the particular house, but a house just went on the market and we both went, oh my God, that's a crazy number. That's crazy. Are they crazy? And sure enough, a week went by, the price just dropped.
It came back to what we thought it should be.
Yeah.
And you know, this is part of what I tell, you know, my clients. I mean, listen, if they want to get caught up in a frenzy and overpay, that's fine. You know, if they're going to live in the house for 25 years and they just have to have it. But for the most part, you know,
and it's not overpaying. Let's remember.
No, that's exactly right.
They're paying a premium for a house in a competitive market, and like you just said, if they're going to stay in the house for a long time, then
I'll give them my advice, which is I think this house is overpriced, or I think that this is a good value and it's worth X. I mean, that's kind of where I come in and tell them that stuff, and it works. More often than not, we know our market.
I'm just reading some of the comments here going on here.
There are comments?
There are comments. I think there are some questions. What's the OG? What does OG stand for? Do you know? I'm so old.
Old guy? I have no idea.
Yeah. I think Justin Mandisi is giving you a hard time over here. Yeah. Hey, Justin. Thanks for showing up, pal. Justin was on last week. He's a realtor friend of ours in Rhode Island, and we did call him last week, Bruce, in your absence, the younger Bruce.
So
I think where the reference is coming from.
Oh, so I'm the original guy or old guy, Bruce? Any day, Justin, any day.
Apparently. Speaking of old guys, I think I need Urban Dictionary like on my phone, because I'm learning a lot of new words from my daughter.
Yeah, I don't think we like all the new words.
This is bussin'.
I don't know what that is. Bussin'? Is that a description of it or that?
This is bussin'. It means it's really good.
Okay.
That's what that means. Yeah.
Great.
And they'll call me cringy when I say things like that, because you know, we're old and we're not cool. So that's the way that goes. Okay. The other thing I want to talk about is interest rates. We actually just got a call from, we were referred to a client. She's in California. She owns an investment property condo in South Boston. Her rate, ready for this one? Her rate is at 5.375% on her investment condo in South Boston. So we did put her in touch with our wonderful lender, Jason Evans. Shout out to Jason, a guaranteed rate. And for purposes of this live, I wanted to let everybody know that for the past 2 months, interest rates on 30-year fixed mortgages have been holding steady at 2.875%.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know,
now, that's not on an investment property. It could be a little bit higher, but on a primary residence, 30-year fixed, 2.875. It's crazy. So again, I mean, it's the market. And there was another article we just read this week too, and talking about, you know, everyone, oh, this can't last. We're in a bubble. All of this, all the mortgages being given out right now are to people with really good credit, right? They're putting money down. And this is not 2008. There is nothing going to crash. If anything, I think we'll see prices leveling out, but we are not in that bubble. There is, where prices are just holding steady right now. Prices have just gone up in many communities around the country, and that's what's happened. And inventory remains low. So, and those interest rates are just crazy. So there you have it.
We're definitely seeing more higher down payments out there. They're not low rates. I mean, excuse me, they're not low percent down.
Some of them are, like our son's VA loan.
That was the VA loan, which is a grossly misunderstood loan. The government will back that loan and allow a veteran to borrow 100% of a purchase price and more often than not, we get agents who don't understand it, think it's not competitive, et cetera. And it kind of, it frosts me a bit when I work with veterans.
Yep. Yep. I can understand that, because agents that don't understand it, they don't think, well, let's be honest. It is a tricky product to get through in a multiple offer situation.
It is.
The house isn't going to appraise.
It's a tricky product if it doesn't appraise, if they don't have bandwidth to put more money on it. The
Correct.
0% down loan is an option that they can. That doesn't mean they don't have money, but sometimes, like, there's all different types. Sometimes
Right.
that is the case.
Use the VA because they don't have the down payment money to put down. Sometimes they use it just because they want to take advantage of their veteran benefits. Absolutely.
Right. Because they've paid their dues to be able to take advantage of that.
Yep. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap up tonight's session. I didn't get many questions tonight. We'll come back. I think a few just came in at the end. And OG, excuse me, is not old guy Bruce. OG stands for original.
Oh, okay.
Even better. You're the original Bruce.
I'm the original. Is that like new Coke and original Coke?
We're so old. Like, we don't know anything.
Nothing.
Like, we should know that. We should know what that means. Right? How about it slaps?
It does slap. Why don't we go back to this?
If our kids are listening to us, like, we are in a lot of trouble.
But we could use like 60s lingo and no one will know what we're talking about.
I don't even know what 60s lingo is. I wasn't alive then.
Bell bottoms.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You weren't alive. I wasn't alive.
Well, all right, maybe for a few years.
All right.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next week. And thanks for tuning in. This is Real Talk with Diane and Bruce Needle. And we'll talk soon. Bye, everyone.
Next week.